This is Macedonia, right?
This is Macedonia Baptist Church Cemetery.
And this was the church that the Ebenezer split off of.
That's right. We are in Meriwether County, just outside of Manchester, Georgia. Ebenezer Cemetery, said to be the oldest cemetery in Meriwether County. This started out as a family cemetery, the Magouirk family. Seth Magouirk was part of the surveying crew sent in by the state of Georgia to divide this land up into land lots. These were brothers. There was Seth, David, and William and Benjamin. William and Benjamin, I think, moved on westward in later years. David stayed here for a while. Seth wound up moving on as well, and I think he wound up in the upper part of Georgia. David was he was supposedly the first justice of the peace here in Meriwether, this part of Meriwether County, the first district. David helped organize Macedonia Baptist Church, which still exists. Macedonia Baptist was organized in 1828, and David was one of the first deacons, along with his brother-in-law, Lodwick Rollins. Now, Lodwick had married David's sister, Rachel, so they all came here together. Well, not long after the organization of Macedonia, the church split, and David and some other members came just across the creek. David owned 202.5 acres here, and the Pigeon Creek ran right through the middle of it. David came over to this side of the creek and donated 4 acres here, which became Ebenezer Primitive Baptist Church. And he and some members that left Macedonia came here and built a church. The church here supposedly was organized in the early 1830s. David's family was already, his mother, I understand, was buried here, and some other family members that had passed away early on. So the Magouirk family cemetery became the church cemetery. After the railroad came through and Manchester was organized, everything moved into town. There was a new cotton mill and businesses and everything, so the church building that was here was actually moved into town, and it still stands on 2nd Street. It's now called Bible Baptist Church, so the building still exists. But Ebenezer Primitive Baptist Church and Ebenezer School were both located here.
All right, so we are back up the road, and we are at the Macedonia Baptist Church Cemetery, and this was the church that the Ebenezer split off of, right?
That's right.
Or the site of that church.
The Macedonia Baptist still exists right down there in a new building, but the old building was right up here where this mausoleum is, in that general area. David Magouirk's sister, Rachel, she was Rachel Magouirk Rollins. It says, in memory of Rachel Rollins, born January 17th, 1791, departed this life May 19th, 1862, aged 71 years, 4 months, and 2 days. Blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth, yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. And this one is her husband, Lodwick Rollins. In memory of Lodwick Rollins, born December 26, 1784, departed this life May 13th, 1847, aged 63 years, 5 months, and 17 days. For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him. That's nice.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of the members of the Rollins family are in this plot. Greenberry Rollins.
Right here, G.B. Rollins?
Yeah. He was a little bit of a historian. He recorded some history about writing down some things about the early days here.
Yeah.
And that's included in there was a history book put together years ago called First District. And some of his writings, I believe, were included in that. Those are unusual. Based on the grave on the other side of these, this is members of the Bullock family.
You think this was added in later? Concrete?
Yeah.
Or what do you think?
It almost looks like it was.
Yeah.
I don't know. That one over there doesn't really have it quite like this one.
And usually these would predate this kind of mortar or concrete, but it's interesting.
Yeah. Grave here next to those is Ludy, daughter of J.H. and M.A. Bullock, born March 9th, 1870 and died September 30th, 1881.
Mother, Alice Ida Parkman, wife of R.H. Johnson, born February 8th, 1863 and died December 31st, 1886. She was too good, too gentle and fair to dwell in this cold world of care. This is neat over here. There's another one of those early settlement graves. But this old fence
Yeah.
here, I've seen this rock style in one other grave. It was over in Harris County, not anywhere near here, but there was another one too. Do you remember another cemetery? And I don't remember, it might be in Meriwether County. I went to it a long time ago that had a fence made out of these.
I remember it, but I can't tell you off my head where it was located.
Me either. This is Raymond, Hutchinson. Raymond P. Hutchinson, Company H, 54th Georgia Infantry, Confederate States Army.
And these were split. They drilled holes in here.
Yeah.
Split this off of a ledge somewhere.
You know, I reckon that's what this hole is here then. Well, maybe not. I don't know. There's a hole there and a hole there. I was thinking that there was like a piece of metal or fence or something between it, but that's only there. And
yeah, it doesn't go very deep, does it? Doesn't go all the way through.
No. Then another one of these fieldstone box tombs.
And then that's graves out there as well.
Really?
Yeah. All of this area in here is what is known as the early slave graves that went with the folks that are buried up here on this side of the Macedonia Cemetery. These are the early slaves that attended Macedonia Baptist Church with those families. Now, after emancipation, Macedonia gave that property over there to the slaves, or former slaves, and let them, they built a new church over there. It's called New Hope. And then they continued burials over there. Now, they only clean up as so far as that fence right there, and that's as far as they go. This is all modern cemetery from there to the church. So basically you can see the indentions in the ground where a lot of the graves are here. You can see a few field stones.
I see a field stone there, and once you, this is another case, and this is actually really common in pre-Civil War churches or early churches, is you would have the white cemetery up there, you know, on a hill, and then down below the hill, just like this, off to the side is where the slave burials would be. So this is a very common example of that.
You know, a lot of people say, well, why isn't it cleaned up? This was, in those days, part of their culture was to not clean off a cemetery. I've been told that by a lot of old African-American families around here, that you may go to the grave once or twice a year and clean up something, but otherwise you let nature take its course. They believed in forgetting and leaving their grief at the cemetery when the funeral was over. And they did not go back. And as they said, we don't worship graves, is what one of them told me a long time ago. And he was 100 years old in 1883, so I think he knew what he was talking about.
Yeah, 1983?
1983, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
1983. I've had a lot of the older people tell me that. And this is a good example because right over the fence here, you've got the church that's there now. That's New Hope Baptist. They don't clean up any further than there because this is traditionally the way this was supposed to be kept. And then Macedonia, the white church, cleans up as far as there, and they don't go any further.
But there are a lot of graves out here.
Yes, there are.
You see there's one that's actually marked with field stone and an indention.
It's a historic burial ground. It's a very sacred place. And
so just like when we passed by the earlier cemetery, the Ebenezer cemetery, and you see the one cleaned off area, then there's woods and there's all those graves back in the woods. It's just like it here with this cemetery and then the old burial ground for the enslaved people outside of the cemetery. And there are, once you're able to see the indentions in the ground, you'll see how many there are out here. There's another fieldstone marking one, but they're all throughout here.
There's a stone at the foot of that grave.
All right, so we're back out of the woods, and there's one other grave that we want to look at here. This is in memory of John F. Rollins Jr., son of J.F. and Melinda Rollins. He was born June 29th, 1840, and he died at White Sulphur Springs, Virginia, November 6th, 1861. At the bottom of the stone, it's got some details. It says he was mustered into the service of the Confederate States July 7th, 1861. A member of the 13th Regiment, Georgia Volunteers, was discharged from service November 5th, 1861. And he died November 6th, 1861. So he was discharged a day before he died, probably, either sick or wounded in battle, and just 21 years old.
It was a long way from here to White Sulphur Springs, Virginia.
Yeah, sure enough.
Long way.
All right, everybody, well, I hope you've enjoyed seeing this video. We've covered these two churches and also this burial ground of the enslaved people in the woods here. Lots of amazing history, really interesting history that we've seen today. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.